questions.
Oral questions. Questions like, I don't believe the opposition should be next Prime Minister Canada up here by live.
Mr. Speaker, whether one thinks that President Trump's tariff threats are a negotiating tactic or a real plan, what we do know is what we can control. And the Prime Minister has lost control of everything. He's lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending and the deficit, lost control of inflation and housing costs, lost control of his own caucus. This has put Canada in an unbearably weak position. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister reverse all the damage he's done, or will he just call a carbon tax election so we can do it for him?
Big trouble is brewing in Ottawa, and troublesome Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is the source. Once again, this failing Canadian Prime Minister is the target of a motion of no confidence, his third in 3 months. This should come as no surprise to those of us that have borne witness to the deluge of scandals involving this liberal so-called leader who has been accused of everything from racism to sleaze to gross incompetence.
Scandals in the past few years. Back in 2019, Canada's Ethics Commissioner concluded that Trudeau had improperly interfered with an investigation into Canadian contractor SNC-Lavalin and its ties to the Gaddafi regime in Libya. Then, during the pandemic, Trudeau was accused of using WE Charity, an international youth charity, to benefit himself and his family through speaking fees. A scandal which ultimately resulted in the resignation of Trudeau's finance minister, Bill Morneau. Then came the 2022 Freedom Convoy protests, when Trudeau controversially responded by invoking the Emergencies Act. A federal judge would later rule that Trudeau's use of the act was not justified. Overall, it appears that Trudeau is dealing with death by 1,000 cuts, as economic turmoil, taxes, housing, and many other issues mount against him and his government.
Canadian MPs are scheduled to vote on a spending package which includes funds for social services, disaster relief, and support for Ukraine. But prices are spiraling out of control in Canada, and public spending is unsustainable. Millions can't afford the bare necessities of life, but Mr. Trudeau just couldn't care less.
And that's what he's been doing for 9 years. My job is not to cover that up for him. In fact, he's broken our economy. He's doubled the cost of housing, doubled the national debt, doubled trouble across our economy with higher taxes on working Canadians. He's in the process of raising taxes on investment and energy right now, while an American incoming president wants to take our jobs and our businesses. It's understandable why President Trump wants.
So tune in, drop out, and listen up. Here is a never-ending series of escalating crises that are about to loosen the Prime Minister's grip on political power and send him straight back to wherever he came from.
How many scandals can one government have on the go at one time? Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. As I sit here recording, it's Wednesday morning. It is June the 5th, and this is just what the government's been dealing with this week. A report on foreign interference implicating MPs claims that foreign governments were working directly, knowingly, with Canadian members of Parliament to put forward the interest of that country.
So is this the tipping point for 52-year-old Justin Trudeau? Can he survive this latest challenge, or is the political ground beneath his feet crumbling into dust? Dive deep into the political turmoil that's engulfing this hypocritical so-called do-gooder and understand the significance of all these motions of no confidence.
We have put forward a motion inspired by the leader of the NDP. That's right. He has said that this Prime Minister is weak, is greedy, is selfish, and is beholden to corporate interests. He has pointed out that this Prime Minister has violated the rights of workers. So we took the NDP leader's words, we put it in a motion that includes non-confidence. Will the Speaker, will the Prime Minister allow this NDP leader a free vote so that he can vote non-confidence?
One thing we know, Mr. Speaker, is that the leader of the opposition certainly doesn't allow any free votes for his members of Parliament. And what we also know is that he doesn't allow them to speak for themselves. What we do know is that when they they put forward, try to advocate for their communities, what does he say? No, don't do that, because I don't think it's politically expedient for me. So what he does do is muzzle his own MPs, doesn't allow them to have free vote, and keeps them from standing up for their communities.
Grab your popcorn, because things are about to get heated. Is the 23rd Prime Minister of Canada about to get canned? Does anyone still believe his lies?
You can say a lot of things about Justin Trudeau, and believe me, I have.
Mr. Trudeau, you are a phony, and you are a fraud, and you do not deserve to govern this country.
This latest crisis began with a no-confidence motion. These motions are of supreme political importance because these motions can either confirm the strength of a government or signal its demise. If Trudeau's government loses the vote, his leadership will come crashing down, thankfully, and a new election and bright new future could be on the horizon.
Undeterred, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre kicked off today's debate on his motion of non-confidence with a campaign-style pledge to restore the Canadian promise.
That promise, after 9 years of the NDP Liberal Prime Minister, is broken.
From there, for hours, MPs used the open floor to air all sorts of political grievances, from the Liberals' handling of hot files like housing and the carbon tax, to concerns raised by the NDP about the future of programs such as dental and childcare, if Poilievre's Conservatives win the election they're pushing for.
Trudeau didn't see this coming. Political observers say this confidence motion is a gamble that could cost him everything. The vote isn't just about his government, it's about him as a leader.
Was there a secret ballot vote?
No.
No?
Is there going to be one? No.
1 week after disillusioned MPs asked the Prime Minister to step down, no further leadership challenges come out of the weekly Liberal caucus meeting. Some had asked for a vote on Justin Trudeau's future, suggesting more party members might vote to dump Trudeau in a secret ballot.
So, can this aging Liberal unify his party and keep control in this divided political landscape? His opponents are sharpening their knives, and this motion could be their chance to strike the fatal blow. Trudeau's track record has not been the best.
I want to begin by saying a few words directly to racialized Canadians who face discrimination every single day in their lives, even in a country like Canada. What I did hurt them, hurt people who shouldn't have to face intolerance and discrimination because of their identity. This is something that I deeply, deeply regret.
Since his landslide victory in 2015, he has managed to hold on through 2 elections in 2019 and 2021. But could this reign of terror be coming to an end? His opponents have savaged his policies on everything from climate change to public health. So, the question on all our minds is this: is he about to be toppled, or can he save himself from the edge of the precipice one more time?
This weak Prime Minister has lost control. He's lost control of immigration, lost control of our borders. And now we're facing massive threats to our economy. And now lost control of his caucus, who are saying that they've been intimidated into voting in favor of his tiny tax trick. He's lost control, but he's holding.
Trudeau has spent the past few years dealing with scandal after scandal, from the blackface controversy to his handling of the SNC Lavalin affair. Here, this so-called Liberal Prime Minister colluded in $48 million of fraud and corruption. Somehow, he has managed to weather these storms in the past, but his political base is cracking up.
But now, Trudeau finds himself in the middle of the worst scandal of his career, which has seen him accused of interfering with a bribery investigation on behalf of a corporate giant. Yesterday, he addressed those charges.
In regards to standing up for jobs and defending the integrity of our rule of law, I continue to say that there was no inappropriate pressure.
This non-confidence motion is like a magnifying glass, exposing the troubles that are simmering under the surface of political power in Canada. The Liberals currently have 153 seats. The Conservatives have 119. The Bloc Québécois have 33. and the NDP has 25. So if the polemic Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Canadian Conservative Party, can just get his hands on those minority votes, this could spell the end of the Liberal reign in Canada.
Look, they're way out in front, more than the Liberals and the NDP combined. When you look at that next tier of political parties, you've got the Bloc Québécois and you've got the Green all the way back at 8% and 5%. But it's really that top line number of Conservatives, 43%. Big majority territory. What's your takeaway from where the data has been now for a year?
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of change for a year. We've seen this narrow band anywhere between 18 to 22%. 22% is the largest lead we've had for the Conservatives, but it's more or less been there for quite some time. But you're right. When you start to combine, and when you combine the Liberals and the New Democrat number, and it's still lower than that Conservative number, we are in massive majority government territory for the Conservatives.
This is north of 200.
Trudeau's approval ratings have plummeted from 63% in 2015 to 28% today, and his once ironclad position as Canada's charismatic, likable, progressive leader is being questioned. The country has grown tired of his false promises and his political mishaps. His party is divided too. Some Liberals are calling for more radical reforms. Others are pleading for a return to the political center.
Trudeau's resignation. This unprecedented revolt exposes a level of frustration that's been simmering beneath the surface for months. The MP's grievances run deep, touching on everything from policy decisions to Trudeau's leadership style. What's most shocking is the brazenness of their actions. These aren't whispered complaints in the corridors of power. This is an organized...
This no-confidence motion represents the culmination of 9 long years of discontent. Trudeau's leadership will either be reaffirmed or the cracks will split wide open. If he loses, this could spell the beginning of the end for his political career. Many will breathe a long sigh of relief. Trudeau is fighting for survival, and his opponents are uniting against him and hating him like never before. The Conservative Party, led by Pierre Poilievre, has been hammering Trudeau on his failures, from skyrocketing inflation to political deception and unkept campaign promises. The NDP, under Jagmeet Singh, isn't giving him any breathing room either. Singh has made it clear that Trudeau hasn't addressed pressing issues, including affordable housing and healthcare. This united front from both major opposition parties is putting immense pressure on Trudeau, who's already struggling to keep his coalition intact.
Have let people down again and again, and they are done. It's clear from the results of the election last night, the Liberals are done. Maybe it's because they keep on teaming up with the Conservatives to let greedy CEOs continue to rip off Canadians. In fact, inflation numbers show that grocery greed has driven up the food prices more than 21% in the past 3 years.
But the biggest pressure comes from within. The Liberals are divided over the direction of their leadership. Some want more progressive reform. Others are pushing for a return to the centrist policies that once defined Trudeau's success. The no-confidence motion has only heightened this rift.
Leaving a bruising private meeting with his caucus, the Prime Minister had only one public message.
The party is strong and united.
but some of his own MPs made it clear it's time for Justin Trudeau to go.
It's incumbent on me and all my colleagues to do what we think is best for our party. And what's best for our party is
his very own party could turn on him if the vote goes south. Public sentiment isn't exactly in Trudeau's favor. Polls show a growing sense of frustration among Canadians. 43% of Canadians can hardly feed their families. They're tired of high taxes, rising costs of living, and Trudeau's inability to deliver on his promises. His failure to handle the rising cost of living and his controversial stance on the carbon tax has led millions of Canadians to question his leadership.
Why is Trudeau so unpopular in Canada? Why is Justin Trudeau, once a celebrated leader, now facing record low approval ratings in his own country? Despite his global reputation as a progressive icon, Trudeau's popularity in Canada has plummeted, with his policies on the economy, housing, and even his response to national crises facing intense.
Growing numbers of voters are turning to the opposition as they see Trudeau as a leader who is disconnected from their needs. This growing disillusionment has made the no-confidence motion even more dangerous for Trudeau because the long-suffering Canadian public is no longer giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Own country. Trudeau's approval rate is at an all-time low of -32 right now, and his Liberal Party is 20 points behind the opposition Canadian Conservatives. Hard times in the economy and rising living costs. The economy is a big reason why Trudeau's support is going down. Even though Canada's growth hasn't reached the levels of a recession, the economy hasn't lived up to forecasts, and growth is now behind what was expected in 2024. People in Canada think the country is going in the wrong direction because the economy isn't coming back up. Since COVID, inflation has become a worldwide problem that affects the daily lives of Canadians. 2/3 of Canadians now think that the country and its economy are...
If Trudeau loses this confidence motion, the fallout will be swift and dramatic. Canada could be thrust into an election campaign. His party might look for a new leader, and Trudeau's career could end. Trudeau, once seen as the darling of Canadian politics, could find himself out of a job, and the Liberal Party would have to figure out how to rebuild without him.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
All smiles from Justin Trudeau after coming out of a hotly anticipated Liberal caucus meeting. The party meets every week, but this week, rebellious MPs presented the Prime Minister with a request that he resign for the good of the party and the country. But senior Liberal frontbenchers insist there's no split.
I think we still have some stuff to sort out, but I think it was a great conversation. People were honest and weren't doing it as a whisper campaign.
What really matters at the end is that we come out of that caucus meeting united, resolve in delivering for Canadians, and resolve in...
On the other hand, if he survives the vote, Trudeau's political future might be in jeopardy. A narrow win could show the world that while his government is still in power, it's not as strong as it once was. He would have to invest all his time and energy in mending the divisions within his own party and regaining the trust of the Canadian public.
Rupture in the party, but Conservatives wasted no time in throwing the disagreement in the Prime Minister's face.
24 Liberal MPs went to his caucus today to tell him that he's not worth the crime, cost, or corruption. They wanted to tell him that he's doubled housing costs, doubled the national debt,
So, can Justin Trudeau survive this no-confidence motion and the crisis that's surrounding him? The answer isn't clear yet. He's a resilient politician, but the challenges he's facing are monumental.
To the food banks, but he wouldn't let them. He silenced half of the dissidents. In fact, some were intimidated so much so that even Rosemary Barton, the Prime Minister's favorite journalist, said people don't have phones in the room and some people are going to the bathroom texting us. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister text those dissident Liberal MPs, tell them to come out of the bathroom and tell the whole world that he's not worth the cost?
His party is divided. His public is frustrated. His political opponents are gaining momentum. This confidence motion may be the breaking point for Trudeau. Either he will pull off a miracle or he will fall from grace. But one thing is certain. This is a turning point in Canadian politics. The coming days will determine whether Trudeau can salvage his leadership or if he'll become another political has-been.
Ever feel like you're watching a bad theater performance? Well, Canada has got front row seats to the biggest show in town, and we are all paying for it whether we like it or not. Let me break it down for you, just how far we have fallen. Remember when Canada stood together with America economically? Now we are trailing behind Mississippi, that's right, Mississippi, while our real estate prices are double what Americans pay. And what is our government's master plan? A temporary GST holiday and a $250 check that would not even cover half of a week's grocery bill for most Canadians. This is not just bad policy.
The crisis facing Justin Trudeau is real, and it's serious. The no-confidence motion is a moment of reckoning for the Canadian Prime Minister. It will test his supernatural ability to weather the political storms. If Trudeau loses this vote, it could mark the end of his reign as Prime Minister. But even if he survives, the cracks in his leadership will be impossible to ignore.
Did you sign the letter to ask the Prime Minister to step down?
Even Liberal MPs are excited about the drama seizing their party.
I'm going to buy a big bag of popcorn and some pop and watch the show, just like all of you.
Mr. Badaway.
But Monday, most of them blew by journalists.
I probably asked you this question 3 times today.
And did you sign the letter?
Or didn't want to speak publicly. Some saying they didn't know about the letter circulating with select Liberal MPs calling for the Prime Minister to quit. With sources telling Global News, it now has up to 30 signatures.
I haven't seen anything, don't know anything, and I'm certainly not going to comment.
Anything I have to say about this, I'm going to save for sharing with...
As this political drama unfolds, one thing is clear. Trudeau is in for one of the toughest battles of his career. Can he fight his way out of this crisis, or is this the beginning of the end for his leadership? Only time will tell, but the stakes have never been higher. So, what do you think? Will Justin Trudeau survive this crisis, or is this the beginning of his political downfall?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, he created all of those problems.
Yeah.
And a food program that hasn't served a single meal, or a temporary tiny 10-cent tax cut on a bag of potato chips will not fix what he...
Not a single hiccup when he says that.
Considering that his next plan is to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. You can just picture President Trump calling our businesses, encouraging them to leave Canada and set up south of the border where there is no carbon tax and where other taxes are falling. Again, it's clear why the incoming American president wants to take our jobs. Why does this Prime Minister keep helping?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on this developing story.